I mean, I guess definitely skating is related to the sort of more essential things, I think. Like in the sense of like what you work with when you're skating is like very much your limits and your psychological strengths and your, you know, your connection to yourself and your attention and your awareness of how to use your creativity and like working with the environments that you're given just as they are, and you bring in your own thing to that, you know. And the experiences that you can have through skating personally, individually, just for yourself, but then also it's a very much an individual thing in the sense of what you're bringing, you know. You're bringing your own creativity, but at the same time that's changed so much through the groups you find yourself in, because it's at once like individual, but it's also a group thing in the sense that we all bring our own individual thing to the group. So then there's so much creative diversity going on in skating, you know, that we can all go to the same rail and there's 5 people and that's 5 different approaches instantly, you know. That's the same trick. Of course, there's that whole question of style coming from within and the whole thing, like, you know, the 5 people can do a back row and it's not the same trick, you know. It's like,
exactly. It's personal.
so I think there's that sort of there's definitely a spirit to skating, if that's what you mean. I guess there's I think it involves your heart and it's what you love. So it's like something that you miss when you're not doing it, and you feel you'll miss if you ever can't do it, or, you know, it's like it's stored deep inside you, you know. It's like skating's up there with the most important things in my life, definitely, you know. It's like it's a good teacher.
Totally, definitely. A great teacher.
It's and it's also where my best reference, I guess, my best it's where I conduct my experiments, you know. It's like where I get my answers, like my results or something, you know. It's it's like it's just when you do something for so many years and you go through so many life changes. I mean, I'm young still in comparison to other people who skate, but when you go through so many shifts in your life, because, you know, whether you skate or not, you're changing through life. But skating is a good way to kind of frame that and hold it and think about that, because you can relate the changes that have happened to you to things that have gone on through skating. You know, it's, you know, you see that at that point I was doing that kind of skating, and at this point I'm doing this kind of skating, and you can see why that's changed, you know, like why I've began to skate this way or that way, you know, changes with yourself that reflect in your skating. And like
and like we were talking about earlier, like it ties into the memory because there's like a significant emotion there. So that like specific period in time, like, are
moments when you feel that you've been at your highest level, or whatever you want to call that, you know, moments where you feel you've like touched the greatest point of your abilities or something like that, and you shared that with people close to you, you know, and they've seen that, and you felt it one way, but they witnessed you going through that yourself, you know. And I think that's amazing, like learning to, you know, you could use an example like learning to do a handrail for the first time, and, you know, you can remember the atmosphere of what it was like. Everyone was juicing you on, and they've all done handrails. For them, it's just become an everyday thing. But for you, you've not passed that hurdle yet, so they're like helping you, show you that, come on, you can get there. And then when you get it, you remember that, like that feeling of like sharing the progression together, you know. It's
and that being pushed, and then the fear, and then overcoming that, and like accomplishing. It's definitely such a good thing, like psychologically.
It's definitely a thing about scaling up and weighing up and learning to trust your abilities, like trust what you've come in contact with, like trust that you've come into skating because you can push yourself and stuff like that, you know. Don't get held back on the worry of like, okay, I could fall. Like, you could fall, but there's also the chance that you could not fall. You know, and there's that
element there, like, makes it good.
That's that kind of little unknown point where you're choosing to trust what you don't know sometimes more than what you do know, because, you know, just because it's gone one way in the past, it doesn't mean it's going to go that way going on. So sometimes just because you've bailed doing that before, it doesn't mean you can't do it this, you know. It's like there's lots of things at play with skating,
and you could take those lessons and apply it everywhere. And
it doesn't always have to be about the greatest, most courageous trick. You don't always have to imply all your willpower to skate. You can also skate in a very casual and playful way. You know, skating, I think, is just about what you want it to be. It's not, there's no one set definition I'm trying to stick to with skating, and it's just saying about what it is for me and what it can be for anyone else, you know. But I like skating of all kinds, really. I mean, like, just, if that's the way somebody feels comfortable on their skates, then I'm happy to watch it, you know, because it's
totally. And at the end of it, it's all about fun and expression.
And I think it just shows you the more it sets you some good values of just, like, I don't know, the kind of loving values of friendship and family and kind of community and stuff like that. You know, they're values very closely associated to like our feelings of love and stuff like that, you know. So
totally.
I think you can find that in skating a lot, you know.
Totally.
Like it's something when somebody doesn't skate, when they're brought into the skating community, maybe whether it be a friend or a girlfriend, then they get to witness that. Did you actually not make an article on that?
What do you mean?
Was there not some article made about the blade community? Was it?
Was that you? Oh,
maybe
she made that and I shared it then.
Yeah, anyway, that one. But it's just like, showing you that when you realize how like open skaters are to bringing people into their homes. Exactly. I thought that was
because that's like an outsider eye. My wife made that because it was like an outsider eye seeing
I like that.
What we could do and everything all together as a community.
Yeah,
and that shocked her so much.
Yeah, well, me and my girlfriend went traveling last summer to Interrail through Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, we stayed at so many skaters' houses, or even if it wasn't skaters, it's people I know through skating one way or another. And just to show that where we turned up in this town, and we could go onto Facebook and I could just write, do I know somebody here?
Yeah.
And I don't even know if I know somebody there, but there's somebody who's connected to somebody, who can get you somewhere to stay. And it's kind of rare, you know, and
it's a really amazing network.
Yeah, and it's very, you're brought in very openly. Yeah, it's welcoming.
Yeah, it's very welcoming.
And you can kind of welcome yourself into it because you know it is that way. You can just make that question, hey, do I have anywhere to stay here?
Yeah.
And you know that the door's open, kind of, you know, it's
special.
It's special for sure. Yeah, it's special.
There's a lot of love going on.
Yeah.
There's a lot of love going on.
Well, thanks for that amazing answer. And thanks for the question.
So somewhat off that, because I don't really know you too well. What's your like?
This is our first time meeting.
Yeah, I know it is pretty much.
With the headsets on, mic'd up.
Straight to work. So what is your like? What's your involvement in all this spirituality? Because there was a lot of questions of people had, or just mentioning your like spirituality.
I don't know. I don't quite know what.
You don't know?
I mean, no. Well, I don't quite know exactly what people are asking when they say that. But I guess I don't know. When I was a bit younger, I was like really, presenting with it, you know, when I felt something, I just wanted to like share it with everyone suddenly on Instagram. Like I really wanted this like whatever I was feeling to be expressed. But you know, I've learned also that you don't have to say everything that you feel, and you know, but it's I guess it's a hard one to speak about, because I mean, in some way everybody has spirituality is just what life is. It's, I mean, you're just not, I don't like to call it spirituality because then it's very much grouped into this like thing which is like a product almost, but it's like
but I think like, okay, like for example, like you're very like expressive person, you know, like I feel you're sharing like deep thoughts. It seems like you're a deep thinker. What do you think sparked that? Is it like, you know, the connection with or is it like your family? Or
I guess I wasn't brought up with any particular religious belief. I wasn't like christened or anything, and I wasn't like married in wedlock or anything, you know. I was just I wasn't conceived in wedlock. I'm just
you were born a free.
Yeah, I wasn't, and my mom and dad weren't exactly pressing for any one idea or another. So I had a lot of chance, I think, when I was younger, just to have my own ideas. Yeah. Whether I even realized it or not, I think like you come to notice these things when you're older. But when you're not realizing it, when you're very young, you're actually forming beliefs in yourself without realizing it. You know, when you're 5, 6, 7, 8, you know, that when you come to and when you start to develop a sort of self-conscience and an awareness, and you start to come in contact with different experiences, like of growing older, like your sexuality, just all different things, you know, then you come to meet yourself. I don't know.
So that makes actually a lot of sense. Like,
and I just skating is definitely one of my biggest bases for working with the elements of yourself. You know, it's like you really have to bring everything into action and stuff like that. And just I don't know.
And I think also like sorry for cutting you, but I think like part of that thing in skating is not just the skating, but it's like the connection you have with the people, like who are such open people, and then you're being influenced by these. Yeah,
and I hung out with like. I didn't have much, like, I have friends from school, you know, there's a handful of friends from school that although we don't maybe hang out so much anymore, I very much regard as, like, people who shaped my life, and I'm sure we had some connection and being able to shape each other's lives. Yeah. But most of my time growing up was spent with older people who were talking about different things that didn't relate to what I was necessarily experiencing in my life, but I was hearing of them through them, you know. I was through skating, you see things that you don't necessarily see as a as a kid if you were hanging out with a group of friends your own age. You know,
Right.
you're hanging out with people who are doing things you've never seen people do. Like that doesn't only mean on the skates, but also off the skates.
Mhm.
You know, there's, you know, people are smoking, people are doing this and that, and you just come to accept these things in different ways. You know, so I
Mhm.
think there's an element of maturing that can happen just by being exposed to things you're not usually aware of. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
You seem very mature for someone who's 21.
I guess there's
You're not,
also
you
just
didn't walk in there
there's also
stumbling
just
drunk. And
there's
like,
also
all
just
crazy.
experiences
Right.
that I've encountered in my life and with friends that I can, you know, there's just experiences I've had that I've, I guess, developed my way I see things. You know.
Yeah, yeah. When you hang around a lot of older people too, you're already soaking in their experiences.
Yeah, and I've, you know,
whatever it
my
is.
mom and dad took me to a lot of places when I was younger. I've been fortunate to be able to like travel around, you know, and
That also helps.
yeah, see new places. And I'm also I don't have brothers and sisters. I'm an only child. So I think then my friends and those other people close to me kind of take the place of what a brother or a sister or something would
Totally.
be. So, you know, your friends, even though they're not directly maybe your bloodline, they end up
Being like brother.
having the sort of relations that you would have with closer family members
Yeah.
and stuff. So a lot of my conversations when I have to speak about things that I'm going through don't happen with family members even sometimes. Although I have no like hesitance to speak to them. I've spoke a lot to older bladers, and they have different perspectives than maybe friends my own age would, you know.
Of course.
So I was like offered maybe advice that was different than I would be getting from people at school, for example,
Right.
or something. You know, I don't know. Not that I was maybe even taking the advice, but at least I was hearing it.
Yeah.